United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have anything to add, delete from the agenda?
Mr. Chair, then I would recommend that we remove any action on the plan, the condition, the plan under zoning, the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Well, there was no action on it today anyway, was there?
Pardon?
I don't think so.
I
There was
don't
no
think there's
action
any
on it.
action.
There was
There
no
will be,
action.
yeah,
just
any
an
action or
update,
any
but-
discussion, since Kyle's not
Because
here.
comment period still through the 9th. So. Anything else?
No,
Carrie, do you,
yes.
when the email I sent you, do you want to just change that later, or do you want us to pull it and make it, or not pull it?
I
but-
think it'll be fine
Okay.
if we just go ahead and move
Okay.
forward with the idea that we will make that
Okay.
modification.
Perfect.
Okay, with the deletion of the comp plan, motion to approve agenda.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Erica and Dave, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the August 20th meeting, any correction? Pardon?
Mr. Chair,
It was just for update anyway. There was no action item on it, so
Kyle's not here, that's why
No.
he's not available.
got a text late last night. He had an issue, so.
Mr. Chair, under the agenda, or page 1 of 3 under the minutes, under agenda, just the last sentence, removal of corner to a later meeting, and the update to land use for no action for the board today regarding Toad Mountain. I just, that's a little bit hard to understand what that means, just to remove it, or to,
I think we were supposed to vote for the plans. We removed that. We removed the vote for the plan, the master plan was what we had removed.
so it should just,
To land use or no action from the board.
Remove,
To,
the update part is what kind of throws me on that. And the update
It's
to
right-
land use
right on
for
the
no
first
action.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
corner introduction to a
Oh,
later
and the
meeting and
update.
the update to land use for no action. Yeah. And the update.
I
Just
think we could
remove-
just say
Just
remove.
remove the
Removal
action
of the
item,
action, and the update was, we still had the
Discussion only?
update, yeah. Discussion.
something like
only,
that,
yeah.
but it just is, it was very confusing
Yep.
to update, the update. And that's how it was worded in the packet, I think, but
Mhm.
for the minutes, but it just was removing
No.
that. Remove the action item of Toad,
Or no action.
Toad Mountain.
No, no.
No, but I think this is for the minutes, so it should read, remove the action item for Toad Mountain, just
Yep.
discussion only.
Discussion only, yeah. Yep,
Did we move that to the 17th?
yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to the Toad Lake Township meeting on Monday.
Okay. That was all I had for a minute.
Anything else? Barry?
2 weeks in a row, Eric, and nothing.
Erica?
I did not have anything, no.
I don't have anything. Richard?
No.
The change, I have a motion to approve the,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the changes.
motion by Dave. May I have a second?
Second.
Barry? All in favor, say aye.
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 Carried, thanks. Moving on. We have consent agenda. Anything, questions on that? I think we've covered it all in
Finance.
finance
Yep.
and
mhm.
got it squared away, so.
The only thing, not that I want to remove, but the tribe-in, the MCCC, as we have new commissioners and this next term, some of that stuff could be brought to the board just for discussion to educate more so
Yeah.
that, the item is just pretty much basic, but some of that education stuff might be worth keeping it on the regular agenda for next January or whatever. You guys know everything already, so. But if not, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Barry, second by Erica. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Open forum. Todd, is anybody that signed up on that? Dennis Olson, you want to speak in open forum?
What?
Yeah, your name is on here.
No. Did you sign in as?
Yeah, this is you probably thought it was a sign-in, but that, you don't need to sign in coming in and out of here. You can come and go freely, but that was, if you wish
If you don't
to
want
speak.
to speak, that's fine.
I just signed in.
Okay,
No,
no comment. Catherine here. Okay. Willis.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Willis Mattson, here for the Isaac Walton League. We've appeared before you a number of times on this topic because we've had great interest in the process. We've been very grateful that the board has chosen to use comprehensive planning to address a number of the issues that are really important to the Isaac Walton League. We've followed the process and, as you know, delivered some technical reports and participated in many of the meetings, but a number of problems have arisen that we want to bring to your attention and ask for a proper time. The public forum obviously doesn't lend itself to any kind of in-depth conversation over these things. So we're not sure just how to do that. Public hearings don't afford that kind of opportunity either, where we can maybe resolve disagreements. Statements are made and testimony is received and things roll along. And that isn't what we think is very robust and effective public participation. So we're asking for a more in-depth opportunity to participate on these specific subjects, both the comp plan content and now more recently the procedures. Drafted an email. I did it mostly directly, primarily to my Commissioner Jepson, but she shared that with some of the rest of you, and I passed out a copy of it for you. And as you see it, it goes into a lot of detail that we can't talk about here. But just to hit a couple of the high points, there've been a lot of input into the plan. Issues have been raised, but the plan still does not reflect at least acknowledgement of those issues and then how to address them. And we've made a number of recommendations to the consultant, to your staff, and now again to the board as to what we think would be an appropriate way to address them. And many of us attended the Planning Commission's public hearing this past week. And those same issues were voiced and many more people were involved. And there was a great deal of appreciation for the opportunity for people to get involved in that kind of number. That's the first time that large a number of people from the general Fortunately, that was not a public hearing. It was announced as a public hearing, but nothing was heard. And the reason we know nothing was heard is none of what was said at that meeting were taken officially into the record and reflected in what the commission did. It was baffling to us that the commission had understood that they were not supposed to recommend any changes, additions, or modifications to the plan. So everything that was said that night was just kind of left hanging in the air and relatively meaningless as a result. So we'd like to have you consider reauthorizing the commission to hold a legitimate public hearing in which there was an opportunity to actually make some changes and improvements in the comp plan. Or alternatively, as we've requested before when we gave the board the report on feedlots or on wake boats, that we have that conversation with the board. We understand that you now will have a work session this coming week, if I am correct, with the consultants on the comp plan. And that may be a very intense meeting between you and the consultants, and in it itself may not be the right forum to have the more detailed discussions that we've been requesting. So we're a little bit stymied here in terms of how to move the process forward. We've identified a number of points, as you'll see in this email, where the process doesn't seem to be following the rules. The legislature gives counties a great deal of authority, local control, especially around land use, that affect natural resources. But in giving that responsibility to the counties, they put some constraints on it to ensure that the resources that belong to everyone in the state are actually stewarded by the counties given the responsibility. And that's why there are rules in the statute of doing it in a particular way, covering certain items and giving the public opportunity. So there's good transparency, there's consistency between counties, and there's opportunity for effective public involvement. And when those things fail to be followed, we tend to get at odds with the county. By we, I'm talking about the Isaac Walton League, because we're so vested in protecting the natural resources that you're in charge of stewarding by the way land use is conducted. So when in these meetings, when these rules are not followed or actually told don't exist, we have to raise to object, and we don't know how better to do that other than to come before you and say, these are major problems. You really can't do that this way. And we don't want to get in a situation where we're arguing in front of a judge, this is the law and you guys violated the law. We think that can be resolved by conversation, but we don't have that venue to do that. So the specific request I have this morning is for time on a regular board agenda. You postpone the comp plan from today, which I think is good because it gives us that more time. So we do appreciate that. But then what do we do with that time? Can we make room to have this conversation in a public setting? So that's a request. And I don't know if you can respond at all today or what's the appropriate way you would like to engage in that question.
Well, as I said in my email to you, Willis, what we have coming up next week is not a work session with the whole board. It's just John and I as we're on the planning commission. So we meet once a month with the consultants to go over an update for it. So the plan is at that meeting, as I said, I've asked to have this email addressed so that we can have, some of those answers, those questions answered. Our consultants are the experts in this. This is not their first comprehensive plan that they've written. So, we trust that the procedure has been followed. But we'll bring that up at the meeting on Tuesday.
Would that be a place where we could actually participate?
No, it's just a small group meeting.
Okay, I'm assuming it's open so that we can at least monitor, watch what's going on there as you discuss these things. Is that open to us?
It'd be, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be an open meeting,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
we're not allowing a comment from the
Yeah,
public.
okay, so that would not satisfy the request I'm making. It would be helpful to hear that conversation. But then if this is, we feel still unresolved, we'd like to have a place where we could engage in that dialogue. Is that something you'd be willing to consider?
Well, I think, you work through your focus group, and there might be other focus groups that want to re-enter some information also. So, but like Erica said, we'll have that conversation with our consultants. What's the date on that?
On Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yep.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, and I appreciate the offer to the focus group, but do know we participated fully in those, and yet these issues remain. We've raised them, and they remain. So it may have to come to this board to ultimately redirect the staff or the consultant or whatever. So we'll attend that meeting next week, and then if these are still outstanding, we'd like the opportunity to come back.
Okay.
Okay?
Some of the issues outside agencies have already been addressed as far as transportation, MPCA. They've been contacted, Will, so. But with that, thank you for your input.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Willis.
Mr. Chair, just a comment to, some of the Isaac Walton League's concerns are, I don't know if they're bigger than county government, in my opinion. Many of your concerns, if they're accurate, are state agency should be driven. I don't know how the county, I don't think the sheriff would like us to put any wakeboarding rules on effect, because how are you supposed to ask a deputy to tell me how deep the water is where someone's at? You can't visually see where, on a lake, there's some things that are just about impossible to enforce. And I think some of those requests are not, they're not something that we're looking at. I would argue that if there's a serious issue of a wakeboard somewhere specific, that we look at lake-specific issues rather than overall countywide, because I don't think we need any more rules than we have currently for most lakes. I think most operators are doing the best that they can, and I think for wakeboarding, I think many lakes don't have any problems. I don't want to throw rules at something that we don't have a problem on. But there are some lakes that are specific, where there are narrows that could have specific problems that I can see where you would enact a lake ordinance rather than overall county ordinance. I won't accept a county ordinance, but a specific lake ordinance where there's an issue. If you have to do it because there's someone not being considerate, then that's something to consider. But I'm not willing to look at personally.
I'm smiling because it's seldom that we often agree on everything, but we agree with everything you just said. And it's in fact, is if you've read our wakeboat report, and we want to meet with the Sheriff's Committee coming up this month, that there is a process to do exactly what you're saying. Now, the thing that you may not understand is how easy it is to map a lake for where you can or cannot by using GPS, who now everybody really has on their phone. So people could find a zone.
I
exactly
will
on
argue
a
that
specific lake.
myself, but
Pardon?
I said I'll argue how easy that is to map. You can map a lake, sure, but how are you gonna know on a deputy see where someone else is and say where they are and what depth? So
But I think
Okay, we should have that discussion, but not here.
I'm not having the discussion.
Yeah, I know.
You just had my discussion on it. So.
I think the other thing that we just want to remember is this is a land use plan.
Mm-hmm.
It is specific to land use. So again, my argument is whether or not the surface water ordinances would be appropriate to have in the land use plan. And if you look at the statute that you provided, the 394.23 under comprehensive plan, where it says when adopted by ordinance must be the basis for official controls under the provisions of section 394.21 to 394.37. If you know those ordinances, which it must be a basis for official controls adopted under the provisions of, those sections are specific to land use. They're specific to Kyle's office, which as we agree, that a wakeboarding ordinance would not be something enforced by Kyle's office.
Well, my memo resolves that differently than what your interpretation is, so that's the conversation we need to have. This is not the good place to do that.
Yep.
But, so let's address those as in here. So thank you for the
Thank you.
time.
Thanks, Willis.
Reports and correspondence.
Well, I just had a couple. We had our EDA Housing Subcommittee. We're currently working through our contract with MMCDC for the coming year. So I believe we have a meeting coming up, or not we, Cody and Carrie have a meeting coming up with them. So I had that meeting and then just the Planning Commission where we went over the comprehensive plan, but we can save those updates. Willis did a good job of summarizing many of the issues that were brought up. And then I see that the minutes for the meeting are in the board packet. So that's all I had.
Just to bring up our county, Minnesota counties, Becker County Soil and Water is featured under the Farmers Erosion Control Aids, Wild Rice River Water Quality. So if you haven't had a chance, I think this was featured in somewhere else too, but I think we all know that our soil and water is one of the better soil and waters to getting money onto the ground in the state. So congratulations again out to Brian and the team over at Soil and Water, and to what really makes us successful is the partnership with NRCS, Ed Musilevich, and I think even the ASC office. I mean, everyone works so well together over there, and just a shout out to those agencies and how we can work together and get things. They're always friendly faces over there. Also at Lakeland Mental Health, where the Moorhead building remodel building now is on schedule, and we are on budget, so we're ahead of or positive of budget for our goals for the year too. We are also having a volleyball game. The Lake Park Audubon Raiders are taking Ulen Hitterdal Twin Valley Titans on, and that we are having a mental health awareness, and Lakeland Mental Health is sponsoring that, so they're going to be there and helping, or just having a booth to showcase, to make sure that mental health is not we don't want, in the old days it was kind of stigmatized that, that's bad, and everyone has mental health issues, and it shouldn't be, you should never be concerned about, why is everyone looking at Richard? Sorry.
I'm looking at getting some medication.
No, don't medicate. I had the joint powers meeting, and I did the joint powers and the sheriff's meeting. I did those on Zoom, and I tell you what, I am not a fan of Zoom meetings. You just you cannot. I mean, you miss things in the Zoom, and thank you for allowing me to do the sheriff's committee on Zoom, but it certainly is not a preferable way to go to meetings, because you cannot gather as much information. But the one thing about the sheriff's meeting that I don't know is on the agenda there, you can chime in because I know I'll miss stuff on that, but it's we looked at the plans, and we're going to try to move forward just with the impound building.
The building and the impound.
And try to get that going. We would recommend, we're going to probably have another meeting to recommend, but it'd probably be on the site of the jail. So on the south end.
And then Klein McCarthy also is going to give us a proposal to.
They're going to bring a proposal on if they they're going to work with local vendors to make this, but they're going to give us a price for architectural drawing. When they working with a local vendor to make sure it's, if they see, we'll do this, design it this way because it will make it cheaper. So, but that's one thing that we asked them to do just for the impound building, not for anything else. So, anything to add, then, Sheriff?
No, everything else on the agenda, and then.
Oh, and then Richard and I had, we had NRM, and the big one is on the agenda about about the
Shelter?
shelter. That's a little higher than we were hoping for, but I came in late because I had something going on, more of a, anyway, we're going to go with John looked into the bike path ceiling. Going to look at see if the highway department can do that. DNR finally is going out to Osage and going to pull that rebar and that block out hopefully. So if it comes out good. Had a quick update on Toad Mountain. We got the timber sales coming before us. The biggest thing, and that's under Carrie's report, is the cost of these archaeological studies. Now, we remember when we were at that meeting that was like $2,000-$3,000. Well, the study came in, the cheapest one was 22,000.
Yeah.
22,000?
22,000 to study, to do an archaeological study. So what we talked about, what I suggest is, because the tribe was wanting this, well, Dusty was the only person there representing the tribe. I think we got an email from councilperson Lee, was it?
Laura. Representative.
Is it Laura Lee?
Laura Lee Erickson.
Laura Lee.
Yep.
Why did I think Lee was her last name? Laura Lee Erickson. She was surprised on the cost of those two. So we certainly are not going to be doing any archaeological studies in the future, in my opinion. But on this one, trying to get this moving along, we did ask Carrie to bring forward an authorization up to 5,000. If the tribe wanted to do the rest of it, whatever. And they're trying to isolate specifically where the concerns are, so we can, you can't just go study 100-acre tract. I mean, you can't do enough. I mean, it's just too big. But if there's areas of concern that we can isolate, that certainly would be something that we could look at ongoing. But just tracks, it's just not doing it. So that was our correspondence, I think, is if we can isolate that down. But the maximum we'd do on this one would be up to 5, is what we kind of thought, and move forward from there. But Carrie will touch on that, I'm sure, later. So anything else under?
The only other thing under sheriff was they're looking at getting an increase for housing federal inmates. They're currently, what is it, 72? Yeah, and then up to maybe 95 possibly, or 90.
I think the key to that was unfortunately adding staff to do
Yeah.
more transportation and to do more of those type of duties to get those benefits popped up higher, then the rate would increase.
Yeah.
And Sheriff Glander argued to consider that in the future, just because we are staffed fully, but we are minimally staffed for what we have. And I don't know necessarily if you were even saying that would be a negative effect on the budget, because if you're, when you have to put someone in on overtime to cover shifts for vacation and stuff, it probably wouldn't, if we add another position, it probably wouldn't affect the budget at all, because you're really not adding hours, you're adding, is that correct? You're filling a full-time position, but they're taking on overtime hours for people filling vacancy.
Yeah, and then that position then would justify
So then you would pop up.
increase in the federal.
So anyway, it would probably be a cash neutral, but that's not at today's agenda, that's
No.
for future consideration.
Yep.
And then there was also consideration of purchasing a UTV vehicle for, out of the grant funding that he's received. We considered that, and probably want to look at that again and see if we should move forward, and how much use. I was thinking that too, that, how much use was that? And if it's, I know WeFest, it's a great need at WeFest, but there might be opportunities just to rent one too at WeFest if we don't have any more needs for that. But you'll have to dive into that a little bit, or get that to me too. So I knew you had more needs for it, but anyway, that's all I have.
I had a DAC meeting. They are currently now up to 77 clients, which is up from, I don't remember what it was the last time I reported, but they have 48 day clients and 29 residential. So a day client is someone that comes to the DAC during the day, and a residential one is they go out and give them residential services, like they take them places or they go to their homes, and it's not all the time. And then they have 2 people that are just working. So we have a person that goes with them to where they work. I believe one of them is working at Pizza Ranch. So the DAC employee goes with the person at Pizza Ranch, and they usually go about 3 days a week and work probably 3 to 4 hours at the most, maybe right around there. So things are looking up. They're getting more people, and of course, our executive director said, this continues by the end of the year, we might be out of space. Like, we just looked at her like, okay, well, we'll talk about that later. But she went to a Moore's conference, and I don't know what Moore's stand for, but I'm not sure, you might know that. So anyway, she learned that we are not, our transportation reimbursement from the state is not even remotely close to where other DACs are at in our area. So she's investigating on getting that adjusted and changed, and it's run through Human Services. So she'll be talking to, I suppose, to Emma about how that process works and so forth. So that's a good thing, because we do need a new vehicle, a new handicap bus. We currently have 4 wheelchair clients, and they cannot transport all 4 of them in the same vehicle, because we only have, and that the vehicle that does house 3 is a van that was purchased by the previous executive director, and it's 11. It's bad. So they're going to keep that because they could use it, but if they get one more wheelchair person, they can't transport them. So it's an issue that needs to be resolved shortly, and of course they're expensive, but that's the way it goes. Then I also had a Dancing Sky meeting. It was a shorter meeting. It was a Zoom meeting. It was basically an informational meeting about I talked earlier when we had a Dancing Sky, they're going to have to make cuts because the COVID funding is running out at the end of the year, and the state changed the formula for getting benefits to the aging population. So they basically decreased the rural and amount that goes to the rural agencies, and then they based it on just mainly on people that are the number of people that are 60 plus in your area. So obviously the metro area gets more money. So the one big cut, there's 2 big cuts. Title 3B, which is services that are support services for seniors and senior centers, like, for example, transportation, homemaker chores, legal assistance, personal care, adult daycare, that is being cut by 47%. And straight across the board, they figured that was the fairest way. The Dancing Sky had a subcommittee meeting that made these recommendations to us. And then Title 3C, which is nutrition and, meals for seniors and Meals on Wheels and so forth, that's not going to be cut at all. That's going to stay where it's at. And Title 3D and Title 3E. Title 3D is services for disease prevention and health promotion for seniors. And Title 3E are services that are for the caregivers, like education, training, what else? Respite care. So if a caregiver wants to take a week off and a vacation, they'll replace them with someone that can do that. Those 2 together are being cut 21% across the board too. So it's going to be impactful in 2025. So that's just the way it is. And that's it.
Okay, Richard, anything?
No, I was out of town.
That's right. I got you up one morning.
That's right.
I had a Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste. We started early that day down there with a plant tour with Senator Kupek. He was touring a lot of the waste facilities, and he did tell us he was again sponsoring another bill to help with county electronic disposals. As we're touring, they had one whole roll-off that was full of, from computers to TVs to all the electronic stuff that people are just putting in the garbage because don't want to pay for going to the recycling and paying 10, 15, 20 bucks for something. So, and what that's going to do is probably the state will reimburse the counties on the end for their number of electronics. So, and it might end up the county will not have to charge near as much upfront. And he did get that one pass where on the cell phones and so forth, where they have to, I think it was 3 or 5 years maintenance on them or repairs, have to offer parts, stuff like that. And that passed last year. So a lot of the, especially like Apple and some of the bigger ones, so.
John, what do all those electronics do when they get just in the waste stream in the dump? I mean, what is the negative effect on,
Well, they got to pull them out down there because they don't want to burn them.
that's, what happens if they burn?
If they
Is
burn
there,
them, then you get all that metals in our ash.
like
They
the
don't burn up. So we got to deal with an ash stream then.
more pollutants in the ash
Yes.
stream?
And so he is very optimistic about probably getting that passed this year because he has worked with the big so-called box stores like Best Buy and some of those, and they're getting on board with kind of getting behind some of the trash that they do eventually produce or sell. So
Have the lithium batteries, I mean, I drop lithium, or I just drop regular batteries off and lithium batteries, and it seems like that program's doing very well for the county. Those things seem get filled up pretty fast.
yeah, and I think we're seeing more and more of that on a county level too. We're
Yeah.
expanding our battery collection at our dumpster sites.
Yep.
And that is one of the major problems. It caused a major fire for us here at the county at our new facility, millions of dollars of damage. Prairie Lakes has a lot of fires because of lithium batteries, but they got monitors and stuff, and they're there 24/7 anyway, so they're able to, a lot of it's alerts the dispatch, sheriff's dispatch right away. So a lot of it is caught early enough before it causes major, but the problem is they get in and with the loaders and stuff working on concrete floor, it just ignites them. Or they short out in the garbage, so it's a big issue, so.
Well, I see locally, I mean, I put batteries at our dumpsters, put them in the proper spots, and there's a lot of batteries that get put in
Oh,
there.
good,
I filled one up just, well, I had a lot of batteries.
yeah. And as far as the operations down there, we did get okay from MPCA to use 30,000 ton of ash to be used in our road projects, and I've been a big advocate of that, and to me, it's a good benefit out there. And rather than, we're looking at expanding our Otter Tail's ash dump at New York Mills, just to get that cell and up, it's probably over $500,000 just so we can bury more. Here, it's a process, we'll do some screening, might have to put up a storage to keep the ash somewhat dry, and so it doesn't leach. But be able to, I think Wadena County and Otter Tail County next year are looking at using some road projects. And again, the transportation from New York Mills to the road project, it'll be an issue, but if it's a break even or cost a little bit, we can get rid of that ash, so. That's a good plus. Originally, MPCA was only going to allow us about 10 to 11,000 ton a year, but our request is 30, and they honored that. So, and
I think that's the key, though, too, is it might cost us a little bit of money to move this, but it saves us on the other end of putting it, having a tipping fee, and then so it's a cost. It's a benefit financially to do it. Some of these recycling programs, even recycling some of the glasses. I don't want to go into glass, but it costs us money to recycle, but it's less than what we'd be putting if we had to put it in the landfill. So I mean, you're at a cost savings.
yeah, along with it, if we keep landfilling it down there, they're looking at probably have to purchase more land. And so it's an ongoing big cost, but they got a contractor who's going to come in for a minimal fee and experiment with a drum screen and magnet and clean some of this up and see what it looks like. So having a good test section on it. So it's looking better. And as far as operation, the plant is running almost on schedule. The only thing Tuffy's right now is buying less steam so far this year. Some has to do with the low cost of natural gas. They can offset purchasing steam with natural gas. And then they had some changes in their manufacturing process too that required less steam. So, but then you got bomb guards on there, and I hadn't been there for 2 months because our last meeting was in Crookston. that expansion on bomb guards on there is mind-boggling. It is huge. It's, one part of the building looks like it's 3 stories tall or more. It's, because they're bringing in more milk and stuff from bigger areas, the bigger dairies and stuff, so they cover a wide, big area, so,
Buy Baumgart's cheese.
yeah.
There's geez.
And then our PFAS testing is scheduled to be done December 2nd, so see how we come on that. Other than that, I think everybody got a copy of our environmental service meeting note, so I won't go into that. And then
Which one?
along with that, after the plasma, we had a demo. MPCA has proposed input on rule changes for just regular construction demo sites coming in the future, probably 25, 26. So it's a pretty good turnout here with people from the area. And I think what they're looking at is more regionalized sites. And again, requiring lining on the bottom of the trench and probably a liner on top. Plus any leachate, it's got to be treated. So that's a big cost to get into it. So you might see a lot of these smaller ones on the Norman Colony, Wadena Colony, they're just going to, what they have, they'll be closing them. So looking for other places to haul it to. So,
John, I don't know that I received the environmental, so if you could just forward that to me,
the which,
the report, the environmental report.
the minutes?
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
I thought I went to all, I'll forward it to everyone. It just,
Yeah, I don't think
you get it?
I believe I got it.
Yeah, just forward.
Yeah,
it.
just forward.
I thought everybody was on there, so.
No big, no.
Other than that, that's all I have.
I had one more thing on the DAC, just one thing, quick shout out. So the floor, the new floor in the main area is basically done. They're gonna do a little bit more, and all the walls are recently painted, and the what's that name of that room where they go? I don't remember the name of the room, but that's done. And so the inside is getting more and more homey looking, and it's pretty excited about it, so.
Another thing, just mention, registration is open for our AMC annual conference, December 9th to the 11th. So anybody plans on attending, let Peggy know, so she can get the rooms reserved. And it's at Doubletree again,
Yep.
Same one
Bloomington.
as last year.
Yep.
Nice to get at. And
I'm anticipating going, so.
I'll go, I'm going, Peggy.
I will also.
I plan on it, so.
Say, Mr. Chair, I just want to mention one thing, because we're not going to discuss the comp plan, or we're not discussing the Toad Mountain today, correct?
Correct.
I just want to clarify something that from our last meeting. Steve Skoog and Mitch were instructed by the board to put this survey out. They are expected to promote that survey in a way that would be in positive light. Now, if Steve or Mitch would have been handing out the survey and said, this is a stupid idea, don't support, we would be very upset with them if they did that. And they did not do that. They were promoting it like they were told, but this board directed them to do that. So I don't want people picking out our employees saying that it was their agenda. It's not their agenda. I don't know if either one of them care which way this goes. So they were told that that was their job. So it's don't think that this is their project that they're trying to get through. I appreciate the concern, but I just wanted to shout out to Steve. He's done everything we've asked him to do with this project, and Mitch too. I just don't criticize them for doing what we tell them to do. I mean, you can criticize us all you want, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. If they would have went and said that commissioner is stupid for even considering this, we would have probably been a little upset. So they had to promote it the way they have been promoting it. And that's all I want to say. I think a shout out to Steve and Mitch for doing this, that they've been spinning their wheels a lot on it. I'm sure it's frustrating for them because they were directed one thing and now they don't know which way to go. So that's.
Yeah, thanks, Barry, for that clarification,
Yes.
because there has been a lot of misunderstanding out there.
There's been a lot of misunderstanding. and-
So it was a board direction that
Mhm.
sent them to
Correct.
what they're doing, so, okay, thank you. Anything else on reports, correspondence? Hearing none, any appointments? I don't know of any, so, okay. Moving on to county administrators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to update the board. We did have a Star Tribune opinion writer that did an article. That was here last week, and I did an interview with her. It was regarding whether or not our county and other rural counties chose to fly the current or the new flag, the new Minnesota flag. So the picture is on there of our flag in the boardroom here in the Star Tribune. So I was trying not to be in the picture, but I ended up in the picture holding the flag. So that wasn't my intent. I thought she cut me out, but I am on the page. So the other thing I just wanted to, I am still working on trying to get a response from Clearwater and from Monoman with regards to the lobbying contract. You know, as you recall, our board did commit half of the monthly charge for that with the idea that we would approach the other two counties and splitting the other half of that cost. So I'm actually going to look, and you all may know when their board meetings are, but I may just have to formally request it to get on their board. I've sent written requests, et cetera, to all the board members, but I haven't gotten any kind of response from either of those counties. So I will continue that in the very near future, because we do need a response from them moving forward, because fall is upon us, and you know, now is the time to start planning for the next legislative session. A quick update on what contracts we still have, our union contracts we still have out there, and I'll talk about the two that are in the packet as well. We are scheduled, I believe a week from Friday, I think it was, or a week from Thursday. Thursday, thank you. With the LELS group, supervisors group. It's the newly formed group, so hopefully we will have a response and some type of resolution from that. There are the two in the packet, again, that I'll go into separately. So the only one out there that we're waiting for a vote, I think, is the LELS sergeants group, deputy sergeants group. So every time I report out on this, I think we're about done. So hopefully we're getting very, very close. Let's see here. So in your packet, there is the human service supervisor's contract that I would request approval from the board. It's very similar to contracts you've seen before. A change in longevity, implementation into the scale in April with the 3-year contract through 26, with the COLA increases that we have indicated for other groups. So there's really nothing different than any of the other contracts.
The longevity is slightly different?
The longevity was similar to what had been approved in the other contracts. Increase, I believe it was at 15%.
Right, similar, but not exact, correct?
Say it again.
It's not exactly the same, correct? The longevity, the percentages?
I thought it was.
I believe it is the same as what was approved in prior
Was the
contracts.
start date different? No, that's a different. That's
I thought
The start date is different.
breakdown of
no,
years
no.
was different. It's essentially the same, but I just thought I didn't.
I believe it's the same.
Yeah.
I thought they were the same.
Yeah, I guess I was assuming they were.
Yeah, it is the same.
Yeah. That was the intent.
Okay, I just didn't remember that was, I might have remembered incorrectly. I thought it was just different on the other one. I didn't realize that we broke different years down in the other one. I thought they just went off, but that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, if it's the same, it's the same. I
Yeah,
prefer it to be the same.
we were using the same schedule was the
Yeah.
intent
Try to
of the
treat
increase
Everybody the same.
on the higher tiers.
Do you need a motion, Karen?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve
Oh,
the
sorry.
human.
Just a second, Dave, can we do
Yep.
both?
Do you want, oh, sure. Do you want me to, I can talk about the
Okay.
other one?
Yeah, let's.
The only thing I wanted to point out on the jailers and dispatchers, it says Becker County will pay a flat rate of $200
Yes.
towards health insurance for regular part-time employees.
Yeah,
I just-
That,
We-
yes,
we need to
and that
reword
was
that.
already brought to my attention,
Okay.
and so my intent, I will reach out to the business agent just to make sure, and I know we had one other contract that we had to
Yes.
modify, just to make it very clear that it's tied to our Becker County insurance for part-time
They have to
employees.
take, they have to take our
Yeah.
plan.
That was the intent that he said last time also.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think Roger agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
it
the
has to
Yes,
be
and this is a different
compliant,
business
you know.
agency.
Yeah.
It's just really to make it more clear for
Yeah.
all. And,
Yep,
and I,
that's-
and I would agree, and I don't anticipate that there will be an issue with
No.
that.
Okay.
I don't think- So I'll make a motion to approve the Human Services Supervisor contract and the LES Jailers and Dispatchers contract.
With
With the
changes.
changes to the
Insurance piece.
insurance piece on 15.5 in the Jailers and Dispatchers contract.
You got a motion?
I'll second. Oh,
You go ahead.
I'll second.
Erica. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
So the last item that I have is, it's in the packet. It was a resolution, and Commissioner Nelson has already referenced this with regards to the archaeological study and the commitment from Becker County as far as a dollar amount to go towards that tract, that initial tract that we have spoken with tribal officials with regards to. So with approval of this, authorization would be up to $5,000 for the archaeological study on this particular tract. There's still work being done with cost sharing with the tribe, and really trying to get this particular tract, as it had been referenced, the initial cost, I believe I think we decided it was $22,000 if you were to do the whole parcel. But again, the idea and the discussions have been, if they can narrow down the area, that we could also get the cost down, so.
One thing that's not clear in here, and Mr. Chair, this was a match of the, we would match the tribal's commitment up to 5,000.
Yeah.
So it was a fifth, it should be stated in here that was going to be a matching. So
As long as they commit as well. so-
if it was a $8,000 fee, we'd pay 4,000. If it was a $20,000 fee, we'd pay 5,000.
Okay.
Just modify.
We would match up to
Up to 5,000.
Match up to, okay.
With that approval.
And, yeah, and I think this replaces, we discussed this earlier, so this replaces, I don't know if we had a consensus because it was 5,000, we thought it was under the administrator, but this replaces that. We did not incur any other expense on this so far. So this would be the only expense on that. But with that, I'll make a motion to pass resolution 09241E with the addition of match up to 5,000.
Motion by Barry, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dave? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So I did have one thing that related to that. So has there been any further talk on allowing the logger to go in and get that maple that's been cut laying on the ground?
Well, the bad part of this too is that maple that's been cut now has dried,
Yeah.
so it doesn't have the value that it had originally. So,
Okay.
but yes, that's been discussion. But again, at our meeting, at NRM meeting, Dusty was there and there was no other tribal representation there. That Jamie from the TIPA agency wasn't there. She wasn't online. There were no council members there. So it's pretty much been stagnant. We did talk to Dusty a little bit and have the foresters look at maybe by the time this goes, this archaeological study might not be worth anything if we do it on frozen ground and just go from there. I don't know. I don't know, but the foresters are trying to work that out with the TIPA, and if we do it on frozen ground, I don't know what the value of archaeological study would be.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're,
I agree.
so that's where we're asking for leeway for the administrator too, and Mitch and Steve to work through that. Hopefully we don't have to incur any money and just do it on frozen ground then, because by the time this study would
Goes
happen, it's months, it's
No.
not like it's going to happen.
Yeah, and just, as you recall, just in general, when we were looking at companies, just for the board's understanding, many calls have went out to several of these organizations to do these archaeological studies. I don't know, I think they got just a very few quotes too. And a lot of them, as I recall, Mitch saying was that they didn't even get a response back, and they're many months out. So this is not something that happens quickly, is what we're finding.
Yeah, and when we met up at the at the tribal headquarters, I think that was inferred that this is an easy process, couldn't happen quickly and just hurry up and do it and, be a couple $1,000s. And we found out this is very expensive, $20,000, $30,000 per site, months in advance. So hopefully in the future, as we move forward, the foresters can work around and not impact areas of concern and move forward like that, so.
Yes,
Okay. Anything else?
that is all I have.
Okay, thanks. Brian is coming in for,
I don't know. I thought he was.
I thought he was.
We're way ahead though, too.
Yeah.
we're a little
We could
ahead.
maybe
We
go with
could go.
Jim.
We can come back. Jim just walked in too.
You show up early, you can just go early, Jim.
Jim, I told Jonah, shout out to the road crew that's doing mowing ditches. I have 0 sign fatalities. They're going around. I want to apologize to those guys because they are having to go around signs this year in election years. But they're doing a
0
very nice,
sign fatalities.
very nice job.
I saw one of those signs out riding my motorcycle the other day.
Did you? Good.
I just said, just mow them down.
Yeah.
Mow 'em down.
Well, good morning. Highway has a couple agreements for your consideration this morning. And first agreement is a MnDOT contract agreement. Must have been about 2 or 3 years ago, we applied for some grant money to install some intersection lighting throughout the county. We had done a previous project, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years ago. So this is just catching a few more intersections. Anyways, this agreement is allowing the state to pass through federal funds for us on this project. We received $33,000 for engineering design work for this project, and then there's an additional $250,000 or so for the actual construction project. But anyways, this agreement is for hiring a consultant to put together those plans. It's beyond our capabilities with the electrical engineering process through it. So we're going to seek proposals from a few qualified candidates and hire them anyways. So any questions on that?
Do you have any intersections that you've highlighted yet?
Oh, yeah. I suppose I can hand you out a map. There's a number of them in your area and a few scattered throughout. But it's kind of a big black circle down there.
Thanks, Jim.
So these were identified in our safety plan, which was prepared, I don't know, about a dozen years ago as high priority intersections. So we get a lot of good compliments on these, and I know after the first round, even former Commissioner Knutson mentioned a few out there on 39 and 34, so we've got those on there. Those intersections are pretty dark to see when you're coming down at night and on where to turn. So we try to catch those ones that are, used a bit more.
What is the one in Audubon?
There isn't one in I think that's just the city limits. You see that thing around it. There's one up on 103 there, which I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, that's 103. It's the Audubon name right above it, so.
Okay.
So this is planned for construction in 2025, and we'll start the engineering work here this fall and get the plans prepared for bidding next summer.
I'll make a motion to approve 24-1A.
Motion by Dave,
I'll second. I'll second.
second by Erica. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
The next agreement is with the Minnesota DNR. This agreement is for a cooperative construction agreement. It essentially encumbers $1.1 million towards the construction of the Heartland Trail, which we've been, it's essentially designed from our Highway 10 at the new bridge over there down into the city of Frazee. We have a few different years of bond monies. Some of those bond monies are set to expire this fall, so this will encumber those funds so we won't lose them. And it essentially puts us as the lead on the contract administration and that, where we will probably, or we will hire a consultant to do that construction inspection for us on that work when we do bid that finally.
I have a motion to approve 1B
I'll make a motion to approve 1B.
by Richard,
I'll second.
second by Dave. Further discussion?
And I do see one error in the resolution. I'll correct in the title up there. A couple extra Cs and
Oh, yeah.
instruction.
Okay. More discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Brian, if you're ready, we're a little ahead of schedule, but as long as you're here.
Good morning.
Morning, Brian.
Morning, Brian.
I
Brian,
think,
Brian, I just mentioned earlier that you were in our county magazine,
Yep.
so congratulations.
Oh, really?
again For,
Repeat, and they still
well,
distribute it,
thanks.
so.
I hope it was good.
yes, Bowser put it in, just, it's a county magazine for all the agencies, and I had it right here, I was gonna show.
Oh, was it the article on the wild rice?
Wild Rice, yep.
Oh.
Quoting Tom Bergen, and
Awesome.
so,
Thank you.
can't find it, but that was also in another magazine or paper, wasn't it?
And outdoor news, DNR outdoor news, yeah. So it's getting around. That's nice.
I heard it.
That publicity.
Minnesota County.
Oh, okay. Great. I had a presentation that I sent.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Very good. So I just wanted to give you an update on the Crow Wing Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan. We are in the draft plan now and we're in the 60-day comment period, review period for that. And so we have until, I think it closes September 24th, but we'll go over that eventually. So yeah, introduction to the watershed. We have the Park Rapids area, the Gull Lake chain over by Brainerd. A lot of forests and wetlands in this watershed, and a lot of conversion of ag land, forest conversion to ag land in the Pineland sands. Drumlin's kind of in the central portion of the watershed, in the Wadena area. And then overall, the watershed's in really good shape. So that's a good thing. And our focus on this plan is more protection. We're able to do that instead of having to fix things. So
Was there an impaired waters there?
there's some, it's very few. There's just a couple of spots more over by Nissa. We'll see it eventually here coming up. I believe we go over that. So we can go on to the next one. So again, mostly forested. You can see where you go, 75% is forest, wetlands, open water, grass. So in our landscape stewardship plan, it was pointed out that watersheds that have 75% cover like this are generally in really good water quality. So, and then we also have the White Earth Nation, a portion of that up in the very northwest part of the watershed. And they've been active in this planning process too. Okay, next. So we have 37 wild rice lakes, total of 13,000 acres, Cisco refuge lakes, 8 of those for 6,448 acres. Priority shallow lakes, 87. Trout lakes, there's 2. Trout streams, there's 112 miles. And lakes with highest phosphorus sensitivity, there's 52. And those lakes they come sensitive lakes because it wouldn't take very much phosphorus in order to make them turn green. So they're pretty important to keep in good shape. And then lakes with outstanding biological significance have almost 44,000 acres of those. So lots of lakes in this watershed. And like the Cisco lakes, the Cisco like deep cold lakes, and so they're very sensitive to temperature change. Next.
Does the priority shallow lakes, are they included in the lakes with, do you have a total number of lakes?
Oh, boy.
I mean, you just add all these 4 up, or are they?
Some might be in combination, right?
Okay.
So I don't know that you could necessarily total up everything, but
I'm just curious. I don't need to know.
sure.
It might be something on the slide to add, though, the total number of lakes within the.
Yeah, right. And it might be in the plan too.
I'm sure it is.
And then here's the planning partnership operating under a memorandum of agreement. Quite a large group, and so it's Becker County and SWCD, Hubbard County and SWCD, Wadena, Todd, Cass, Crow Wing. White Earth Nation is not formally in the agreement, but they've been active in the planning process. And yeah, the group goes further east. You know, typically we're used to working with people in the Red River Valley, so it's a new group to get to know. Okay, next. And then, yeah, community engagement was part of this whole process. We had the public kickoff meetings, two events, one in Park Rapids, one in Nisswa. And they also had a citizens advisory committee, and they've met 3 times throughout this process too, just to make sure that our plan is meeting up with priorities that they think are priorities too. So far things have lined up well. Water quality, forest and habitat, quality for wildlife, loss of natural shoreline, groundwater quality, and increased development on lakes are all concern in this plan. Next. And then our priority issues. So there's 4 resource categories: soil, groundwater, surface water, forestry, and habitat. And then when you go over to the issue statements, those resource categories, you see the blocks for each one in those items in the issue statements. So changes in land use, lakeshore and riparian alteration, nutrient and bacteria runoff, plant and forest health, soil health, drinking water quality, groundwater quantity, sufficient protection, alterations to natural drainage, and invasive species. And so like in the lakeshore, the removal of vegetation along the shoreline is a concern. The alterations to natural drainage, that is more along the lines of some straightening, but a lot of dams that or culvert restrictions too. So that's also items that we're working with. And yeah, all these issues are pretty common to that portion of the state, the more forested areas. Next. Then our focus resources, we have groundwater, surface water, habitat and forestry. So on those maps, you see that eastern part of Becker County there, where the pineland sands are, ends up being a fairly high priority. So our we spent 4 months working on these items, and the groundwater portion Of course, the sandy soils are more sensitive to nitrogen leaching. The surface water portion of that is more of a concern down in the Todd County portion, that little part way down on the south there, kind of all by itself. Partridge River. And then habitat and forestry, our focus would be to protect forests next to state lands through private forest management. Next. So the overall focus is all of those maps stacked on top of each other to come up with where we will prioritize our outreach with this plan for implementation. So the dark green areas are tier 1 priority for outreach. So, you know, with any of these plans, we need willing landowners in order to get anything done. And so we make people aware of our priorities and what things we'd like to identify to work on, and leave it up to the landowner to let us know if they're interested in.
What are
going
some of the
forward.
projects that you would help fund on in the green area?
Forest management, private forest management, irrigation water management, and those would probably be the 2 highest priority ones. But there'll be nutrient management, soil health, be the most common. And then next. So our measurable goals. This is in the next 10 years. So what we hope to get done with this plan before the next update. There'll be another check in 5 years to see how we're coming along with getting towards these goals. But we have land protection. So this would be the Sustainable Forestry Incentive Act. Almost 24,000 acres there. Plant and forest health, 95,000 acres. Open for 500 forest management plans. Shoreland management to implement 2 miles of lakeshore riparian enhancement. And that's one of those goals that's tricky because the amount of riparian areas that we're losing are greater than that. So we're trying to find a way to encourage less destruction, and so we don't have to, because we got plenty to do without continued destruction. So we're not really.
So would you piggyback on a aquatic management area if the DNR is looking for? Would you?
Yeah, well, we could partner with whoever, right? Yeah, DNR would be a possibility.
But I mean, those that have come before here, I think we've approved every land purchase from the DNR that for the aquatic management area. I think they're really for every lake. It's wonderful to have an area on the lake that's natural. I mean, I think most people agree with that. So
yeah, it's challenging with all the lakeshore lots and the loss of vegetation along those areas. Try to restore those areas back to get that buffer in between the lake and the yard.
I think you're gaining some ground on changing everyone's attitude on what looks good, and because it's all aesthetics. But I've grown. I mean, I still mow a lot at our place, but we have areas we put pollinator areas in and put in some CRP, and you have to get. Saw some flowers coming, so I mean, you start to see some benefits, and instead of growing through all the oats that it was the cover crop, but.
Right, yeah, it takes 2 or 3 years.
We need, even at the lake shore, we need to identify areas where we can leave more natural and deep setting roots instead of just a lawn mowing it right up to as close as you can. So we need to, I mean, and I'm the same. We mow everything we have at the lake, so.
Right, yeah, well, it's a process.
Yeah, but we have just a postage stamp size lot, so.
Yeah, they all add up. That's the trick. It seems like a small area, but once you get a lot of them that
Yeah.
get a bunch together, that can really make a difference. Our ag land management goals are 27,000 acres of, could be structural practices, erosion control, nutrient reduction, reduce phosphorus in lakes and protect them from degradation, and connectivity. So replace 10 barriers to fish passage between dams, road crossings, culverts, and DNR's made pretty good strides with that. It's a priority in the plan, but the implementation funding may not be used to necessarily take care of those items. And then build resiliency into the projects where possible. So if we do have a structural practice, maybe build it for a 25-year storm as opposed to a 10-year storm like we typically do in the past, or typically did in the past.
Those 10-year storms happen 3-4 times a year now.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Right. Certainly more common, that's right.
The insurance companies think so anyway.
Okay, next. So overall benefits, if all the goals are met, these are secondary benefits stacked. Surface water quality benefits, yeah, like 8,700 pounds a year, equivalent to 4.4 million pounds of algae and phosphorus. Sediment would be 1,670 dump trucks full of sediment. Nitrogen could be 3,317 bags of nitrogen fertilizer. So and these are not necessarily things that we keep track of in the plan, but secondary benefits that maybe put things into perspective for the general public.
What is a bag of fertilizer?
Is it a 50-pound bag?
I don't know.
Right.
2-ton tote?
Okay, next. All right, implementation. We have the manage it, fix it, and keep it categories for this plan. So under the manage it is more management type practices like cover crops, nutrient, manure, irrigation, pasture. The fix it things are the structural ag practices, replacing septic systems, well sealing, rain gardens, shoreline stabilization. Then the keep it is the easements, buffers, private forest management plans, and then we got the know it portion of that. That's balancing it all. So we got to keep track of all those accomplishments. And yeah, once again, we can only implement these practices where we have landowners that are willing to implement projects. So trying to find those willing landowners is a big part of the process. Next. And then the funding portion of this, we got about 5 million estimated annual budget for this plan between the watershed-based implementation funding, other partnership funding, and then the existing funding that we already had in place. Next. So overall plan highlights, we have the tools that we need to identify priority locations with prioritized target measure, PTM app. We have our landscape stewardship plan that also identifies those areas. Individual goal information is able to be pulled out and stand alone, so we can easily find those areas that we need to work in. And all of this work is already put together for us. It's just a matter of pulling out the data and reaching out to the landowners. And this planning process took about a year. Next. The Citizens Advisory Committee come up with a vision statement. Crow Wing Watershed was a historic transportation route and provided the necessities of life for generations. Today, we blend agriculture, forestry, tourism, and the lake community to protect our story and preserve resources for future generations. Next. So, yeah, like I said earlier, we're in the 60-day review now. The plan is posted on the project website, so anybody that's interested in reviewing the plan and providing comments has until the 24th to do that. And so then we have our review authorities. We have notices that have been in the paper. And comments must be submitted in writing to Darren Myers with Bowser or Jake from Hubbard SWCD. Next. So here's our timeline, September 24th, end of 60-day. In October, we'll have the public hearing, October 17th in Staples at Sourcewell. And that'll be from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then I'll be coming back to visit with you about the implementation portion of the plan, getting those agreements put together. I think it's been the consensus of the group to go with a memorandum of agreement again.
Yep.
And so I'll bring that forward to you to have that decided on, to join the group for implementation and get the watershed-based funding. Hopefully the plan will be approved in December, and then move on with the implementation portion early in 2025.
Statewide now, Brian, how many are left statewide, do you know?
I think it's 5 is all.
Or about the end of the process?
Yep.
A painful process, but
Right. It's really gotten efficient. You know, I was part of the pilots up at the Red Lake River, and the planning process is so much smoother now, and it goes really, really slick. So
I think we started with the red eye. And should thank Commissioner Knutson for all his work and he really thoroughly enjoyed working with that process, I'm sure. But we got through it. Give Larry a little grief once in a while. No, it was a struggle, those early ones, because, you know, we didn't see the efficiencies. And now that we're all there, I think there are going to be some efficiencies, but the transition time, there was not. I mean, it was,
Right.
Everyone's writing water plans, and it wasn't a good.
Yeah, I probably see the benefits in the Otter Tail one here, our local, working together, bigger projects and.
yeah, it's just a whole different process of doing business, you know, and working together as a group to get these plans put together. So you learn how that goes, and it's been going well.
Well, I think a lot of it's trust too, you know. I think now that we're this far into it, we have a better feel of how this is going to be run. And there was some concerns early about what direction or how much control that the state wants to have then in some of these areas. And I think we will take the local leadership's advice.
Right, yeah. And the second plan I was involved with with the Thief River, there was very similar concerns there with the state, and thinking, you know, they might be implementation and to adopt the plan, of course. So,
Thanks, Brian.
all
Thanks,
right.
Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Mr. Chairman? Would you entertain a comment about the intersection of this?
Not at this time, no.
Oh, okay.
Just an update for the board. Land use, Steve.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Mitch.
Morning, Rich.
Have a couple items before us today for the board to consider. It's been a long process to get to the point where we are at with Dunt Lock Shelter. We did bid it out, and we had a number of competitive bids, and this has been reviewed by the NRM committee and finance committee, and we'd recommend awarding the low bid to Bristling Construction for the amount of $477,665, which is your base bid plus installing a path. We also like to reserve a contingency of $23,883.25 for the project. That's 5% of the total amount. That's based on the or the committee, if there's any. And then we'd like to direct Alyssa Novotny from Dovetail Direction to prepare a construction contract using AIA form to do it.
And these funds, the county funds are coming out of which
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec that has to be spent. I mean, I just want to make sure the public knows that these are not general tax dollars that we're spending on this project. This is monies that we've raised through timber sales, other NRM projects that have raised money that have to be spent on recreation items. With that being said, it will deplete our funds considerably. So it's probably a negative for moving forward with the Toad Mountain project, in my opinion, as we move forward with this. And we see the other concern in NRM is with the two things that have happened to us now recently with now we have to sell the distribution of funds on tax forfeit properties caused by the Hennepin County lawsuit is going to restrict some of those funds that we get and some of the avenues we have to spend those. And the other thing is the timber cuts now. We have more issues and more troubles with them. So, I mean, there are going to be more concerns that we have to address. So we have to, those incomes aren't going to be quite there either. So with that being said, this is a good chunk of money of the county. We got a nice state grant, but this is a good chunk of county funds that's being spent for this. I don't, you start to ponder, should we move forward? But I think we do move forward at this time because that shelter needs to be replaced. I don't think it's going to go down in price. We could scale it back and take some of the bathroom facilities out. Well, then then it's just not as nice a facility. A lot of people have done a lot of work on this. I think it's, everyone would have their own opinion on exactly what you want. So I think we have a good plan here and it's done a lot of work. So I can certainly support it. And as far as who should, I don't know, Rich and I are in NRM, but if there's change orders, I think you work with Carrie. And I think with this being in John's backyard, I would just as soon have John look at the change orders and be the authorization person as chair. And
Yeah,
I would agree with that, Joe.
Okay.
until when he's not off the board, maybe. You got some
Even
restrictions.
next year?
No. Yeah, I think we will certainly seek your input on that next year, if there's any. Hopefully it'll be done by when?
No, it's,
Hoping by June, so wrapped up.
it's been a long process of planning and going back and forth, and the original site where the shelter is now, and then moving it because of artifact, whatever, and, haven't been out there, the thousands of people a week that visit there, it's
Unbelievable.
You can't believe it, that there's that many people, but it's very
There's a lot.
busy. We got the bike trail coming in, you got people just coming out to see what it's all about, so. With that, do we have a motion to approve
Do you want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the low bid of Breslin Construction and include the contingency fund
Second.
with the alternate bid in there also for the trail.
Correct.
You second?
Yep.
Very second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Gary, do we need that part of the motion that you are authorized for change, you and John are authorized for the change orders? That is included in your motion? If that's acceptable?
For technical formalities.
Yep.
The second item we have before us is Resolution 09241C. It's a land donation to Becker County. This is land in Osage Township. This has been in the works for quite a while, and I really want to thank Mitch for spending a lot of time working on this and bringing it forward. I guess does anybody have any questions on what the property is and what it's going to be used for?
It's on Shell Lake, right?
No.
Where's
No,
it?
in Osage.
It's a different.
80-acre parcel.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, gotcha.
There's a map in the back there too.
Yep, I gotcha.
And then just reference on that the Northern Waters Land Trust, through the process, they just require a formal resolution. That's what's brought here before you. It has been approved in the past through letters of support, but to the next step, moving it forward, they just need a resolution passed, so.
Our motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 1C.
I'll second.
Motion by Dave, second by Erica. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Good morning.
Morning,
Good
Tom.
morning, Todd.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, I have one item. I have one of our investigators is out on a leave indefinitely. And the caseloads do not end for those positions. So what I am doing is I'm asking for approval to appoint one of our deputies into the investigator position on a temporary basis, and then backfilling that deputy position. I do have a roughly a 5% savings to date in sheriff salaries and wages, which is approximately $107,881. With insurance and all the other benefits, right now we have a savings of $174,000 approximately. So what I have in savings would cover the cost of these two going into these positions.
I'd imagine the one person that's out is on, I mean, it's regular payroll is probably not still, well, at some point it will, regular payroll will not be continuing. It'll be long-term, short-term disability, or I would assume. However that works, I think at some point though, that's going to transfer, so there won't be a cost really at some point if this goes on.
And these positions, the savings is due to open positions earlier in the year.
But, and if you look, both of the positions are temporary, even the backfill's temporary, but there is arguments that this should remain, but that would be discussed at a later date. So if he wants to continue that extra deputy position, but we said, well, we'll support this for now and we'll bring that to another.
Just for temporary at this time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any other action would have to come back to the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we also wanted to make sure that it wasn't a temporary,
Yeah, I was just going to
Yeah,
say
go
that,
ahead, Carrie. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may. When you use temporary, that's, really tied to the 67 days, so I think we want to be careful. I had suggested time limited, perhaps, throwing out a 6-month timeline or something along that line, because this position really would be a benefited full-time, or both of them would be full-time benefited positions, more so with a dedicated timeline.
Or if we say just temporary,
67 days.
67
is not benefited.
Correct.
Correct.
So it's really a play on words.
So-
And then just for clarification, Sheriff, you talk about appointing. I don't know that we ever talked about a process for that.
As far as appointing somebody to the,
Investigator.
yeah. We still have a list from the last promotion that I would like to use.
I think that's
If
an
that
internal
works.
thing that we should
Yeah.
just make
Yes.
sure is done properly.
Just so we're clear that there's a process behind this.
Correct.
Yep.
Carrie,
goes
what's your
through HR.
suggestion? What's your suggestion on how to word the?
I think
timeline?
full-time positions, backfilling these positions with a 6-month timeline would be
Which, if needed to be extended, would have to come back.
correct.
Yes.
Modify the resolution
To
accordingly.
say,
So
to
instead
say
of-
6-month timeline.
So instead of temporary, full-time, say 6-month time limited, full-time investigator position.
And the backfill position too.
Did we have a motion?
I think so.
I'll make that motion
Motion
Second,
by Erica,
second with that wordage.
with the worded
second
change.
by Barry. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Let's
just go right.
We're scheduled for a break, but planning and zoning isn't much, so why don't we
Yep.
move on to that? and Adjourn and break.
Is, who's presenting for? It's
I
just,
guess Eric and I,
Yeah.
as far as the one item, this Brandon Shipman request conditional use to construct a retaining wall, and it was passed, I believe unanimously by the planning
is
commission.
anyone here?
Nope, there was one.
One no
opposed.
vote, yeah.
I want to vote. Anybody here to speak to that?
And then Brandon Shipman retaining wall?
Anyone going once?
So I need a motion to
Do we need
concur.
to, is this a public hearing that we need to wait 2 minutes? That was my only other
Which?
thought.
It's not a public hearing, but it's
No.
on the time, it's scheduled for 8:55, so we are a couple minutes ahead, but you always look at, there was nobody at planning and zoning or how controversial anything else
And
is certainly.
there was nobody there at the meeting that spoke against it.
Oh,
And really, the biggest concern was the stormwater management plan, which was, approved the application on the condition the applicant work with Becker County Soil and Water to create a management plan. So
Mr. Chair, I think you personally.
Just where is this located?
Oh,
Little Cormorant Road,
Middle?
Little,
Little.
yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or not? Motion to concur or deny?
I'll make a motion to concur with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second.
Motion by Dave, second by Eric.
Was there an engineered plan? I'm going to stall this for another minute. Is
Pardon?
there- I'm going to stall this for another minute, so we're at 8:55, but.
There was not an engineered plan presented to the planning commission. But it was suggested, and that's where the recommendation to work with Becker County Soil and Water to create a stormwater management plan. They did hire, Shipmans did hire a landscaper, is that what he was? So, I mean, it'll professionally be done, and they've been working with,
Just because you're a landscaper doesn't mean it's professionally done.
well,
No,
I've had one at my place.
Jeff Moritz spoke
mhm.
about it too, and he was kind of okay with the plan they had come up with. And I thought he said it was in their Cormorant district or just out? I think
Just out.
Just out.
Little Cormorant doesn't have anything
No, so
in the Cormorant watershed.
he said that, well, he has concerns, but after seeing what they're going to do, it's probably improvement, so.
Okay, perfect timing.
Yeah. to have a motion to concur?
You do have a
Yeah,
motion in
yeah,
a second.
in a
I
second.
do, okay, forgot. You delayed me.
Well, I delayed it long enough, so it's 8:55, 9:55.
Okay. Any further discussion then? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks. Anything else we need to?
No.
Not, we'll adjourn this meeting and take a break
Start the other one.
and then come back for budget discussion workshop. Thanks, everyone.
I have to go there.